Update 1.3 is out for everybody to either enjoy or hate on all the new features and balance changes. But as the impatient gamers that we are, we now look to the future to think about what's the next big thing for Arma Reforgers. Fortunately for us, a long time ago Bohemia Interactive gave us a very nice roadmap to look and get excited about. As of 1.3, the roadmap is about 95% complete, leaving just a few more things to implement before it's done. So let's talk about what's left on the list, how the features and content might work and impact the game, and what things we might be able to expect that aren't on this roadmap. My name is Jezzy, and if you enjoy this video, subscribe, drop a comment, and even jump into my Discord to join the conversation further. So this is the roadmap, which is split into 3 pages. If you want to take a look for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below. Under the left side of the roadmap is new assets listed, and there are only 2 things that remain. Firstly, we have handheld flares, the 3rd addition to flares, on top of underbarrel grenade flare rounds and illumination mortar rounds that were added in 1.3. I'm hoping that handheld flares will be launchable signal flares rather than like a road flare that you hold and throw. I just think having an option to use a signal flare without having to run around with an underbarrel grenade launcher or with the support of a mortar team will be huge, and something I will definitely run, as I usually prefer to be more lightweight with my loadouts. Especially in modded servers with night vision goggles, flares can be a powerful tool when infiltrating points to blind the enemy as you move in. If I was to guess how they will work, it will be similar to the cartridge flares that you see in Escape from Tarkov, with the Soviet side having the RSP-30 signal flares with several colours, and the US counterpart with the M127 signal flares. And then in the final page for assets, we have anti-personnel mines. This one's pretty scary to think about. Anti-vehicle mines are already so savage, I honestly can't wait to see how many mine team kills there are once these are put into the game. I'm imagining ambushes surrounding capture points will be a popular spot to lay mines, and entry points to popular buildings and compounds. There hasn't been any information on the style of AP mines that will be getting added to Reforger. For the time that Reforger is based, it could make sense to see either blast mines that need to be stepped on top of to be activated, like the M16 mine for the US and the PMD series of mines for the Soviet. Or perhaps they might go towards more directional mines with tripwire activation, like US Claymore and the Soviet MON-50s. On the roadmap, we have 3 major features that should be making their way to Arma Reforgers in the next patch. One of them is going to completely change how conflict works, in my opinion, for the better. We will start off though with the electrical system. Both Everon and Ireland will have their own full electrical grid. Infrastructure and buildings will all need to be supplied with utility power. And it will be possible to disrupt and restore the supply of power from different points of distribution. This will be a really nice touch to the interaction with the world. I'm guessing you will be able to take control of like larger power substations on Everon, like these ones, to disable power to entire regions of the map. And then maybe interacting with like smaller power line boxes to cut supply to like a single town or even individual properties. This will definitely be fun during night ops to cut power strategically before moving in, even paired with the flares to really control the battlefield the way you want to. And then next up, this is a big one. This will change conflict massively when it drops, and I actually don't know how it's going to be implemented yet. And that is that bases in conflict will no longer have preset locations and will entirely be built by the players. Building bases will be limited to the available supplies and can only be built within your team's existing radio range. My guess is that like standard supply trucks, or even maybe just the shovel itself, will come with the ability to build a command tent, as long as you have the supplies with you and you're within your radio range. This will then make it so the objectives are areas to be fought over, but not spawned on, kind of similar how you would see in Squad for example. Let's take Fagari for an example on Everon. Both teams have pushed up the map, building bases in their own strategic positions, extending radio ranges as they go, capturing points. Rather than moving into Fagari and building up within the town, each team will have built bases somewhere within the area, and then move in and attack the points from those bases. Conflict is going to play so differently. Supply routes will be different every single game, as the places you're supplying are dependent on where the players have built them. Objective winners are determined more about the infantry force that have controlled it, rather than having a ton of supplies on the point and players just spawning on it. There's going to be like new sub-objectives for players to have surrounding scouting enemy bases, finding where they are and where their supply routes are. One thing that I have really no idea how it would be dealt with is how the bases are dealt with from the enemy. Once you've found and pushed onto an enemy base that's been built, can you destroy it? Do you take control of it for your own team? And if you can destroy it, how is it done? Would you need multiple people? A specific vehicle perhaps? There's a lot of unknowns. I would love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments. I'm presuming there are going to be some rules about who can build these bases. Surely if every player can build a command tent when they like and where they like, things could get pretty messy. Maybe it would only be available to squad leaders, and perhaps a requirement of at least a few players in a squad before building a base becomes an option. Or maybe it'll all be determined by your team's commander, which is a beautiful segue into the next topic, and that's the commander role. A new commander role will be available, allowing for objectives to be assigned to all units in a faction. By default, the commander role is allocated to an AI unit that isn't physical within the game world. But the commander role will be assignable to a player. It will then be responsible for strategic decisions. My guess is a voting system at the start of the match will determine who gets the commander role, same as how it's done in Hell Let Loose. The bigger question not explained in the roadmap is what abilities the commander will have in this role. Will we get something similar to Hell Let Loose, with commanders able to call in supply drops, airstrikes, boosted supply regen on a specific base, maybe deploy vehicles? Or will it be more simple and just assigning objectives to squads or to the team as a whole? Perhaps the intention will be to assign objectives to specific squads, which when followed will reward those units with a large XP boost for following commander orders. This could be a way of giving it a bit more uniformity to the team and splitting squads out evenly across the map. Maybe the commander will have the ability to see where every unit on the map is. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but a huge amount of potential to come from something like the commander role. Finally, to finish up, we also have things talked about and teased by developers in a recent Q&A session that aren't on the roadmap. Of course, a major one that's pretty well known, but still not on the roadmap, is the new map being brought over from Arma Cold War Assault called Kolgiev. A 35km² map places it as a nice in-between in size from Everon and Ireland. It's a deserted land devoid of civilian settlements, and it's now a Soviet military garrison. It's got old rundown industrial areas and abandoned towns. It will certainly give the map a much more grim and deep vibe compared to the other maps. Next up, we have persistent loadouts. Loadouts that can be saved between matches. I'm presuming that you will only be able to load a preset if you have the required rank for the weapons and attachments. Hopefully they give the ability to save more than one loadout, so you could have like one loadout for your private and corporal ranks, and then higher rank loadouts ready to go for later in the matches. In the Q&A, they also talked about HOTAS support. They did bleep out any information about it, but clearly you could see that they are working on having native stick support. Another one is working periscopes. Working periscopes still haven't made their way into Arma Reforger in an official format. The devs acknowledge that it's already been done by modding teams, but they state that they want it to be as in a polished and optimized state as possible before releasing something to the public. Tracked vehicles and boats got teased potentially. While we didn't get any information other than a tease, the executive producer Natalia teased with, I quote, "Did you know wheels are not the only way to propel a vehicle?" The community have been speculating that this is most likely a tease to either tracked vehicles being worked on or boats, either of which I would love to see make their way into Reforger. She also mentions that they're going to make sniping harder for players. I have no idea what this could mean. My first guess Was that wind effect on the ballistics maybe? Let me know in the comments. But that's everything I want to cover in this video. I hope you guys learned something new about what's to come in Arma. Please drop a comment below and discuss features and content that you would like to see in Reforger. I read all the comments and I love being involved in the discussion. So I will see you there.